you get to do, and then you don't get to do, and so on. And one of the real problems in our society is that people get to a certain age, and they can't do at the same level as someone younger than them is able to do. Then that's when they have thoughts of depression and anxiety and worry and fear, and they go off to, you know, they find themselves swallowing a lot of medication and so on just to deal with that, and suicide rates really go way up as people get into their 50s and 60s and realize that they can't do what somebody else behind them is doing, or that you get left behind. You know, it's like there's so many changes and so many things that go on. You know, like I remember records being, you know, like 78s, you know, I don't know if you remember 78s, but, you know, these things that you would put it on there and you would play it and scratch and all of that, and then they tossed out 78s and they brought in 45s, and then they got rid of the 45s, and they started bringing in cassette tapes, and then they got rid of those, and they started doing things on digital, which I haven't got a clue of what a digital thing is and how it works, and how a little thing this big can have 10,000 songs in it. It's a total mystery to me, and they all come out of there. But if you are believing that you are what you do and you don't understand this and so on, then, you know, it all passes you by, you see. So ambition has its real upside for a while, but it always ultimately has the downside. And the downside always is that I'm not going to always be able to do what I'm doing now, or at the level that I'm doing it now, or some change is going to come along, and I'm going to be required to move into another direction, but I don't know how to do that because I only know how to do this, and that's who I am. This is who I am. You hear people saying that, but this is who I am. This is the only way I know how to be. So that's the second aspect of the ego, you know, with ambition, is that we are taught this, and this isn't just a mild kind of influence that's on young people when they're. This is it's almost like a conspiracy. I mean, it's that big where it's impossible to escape this whole plunging you into this world of ambition and having to believe that I have to accumulate more and I have to be ahead of the other guy. This is what competition comes from. This is winning. This is, you know, all you have to do is watch a bunch of young people as they're at a football game, and it's like, oh, they're all doing this, right? All doing this. And what does this mean? We're number one. We're number one. We're number one. Everybody out there has to be number one. We have to compete. We have to be better than somebody else. We have to accomplish and so on. And when we don't, we're depressed and we're hurt and we're, you know, and full of anguish, and we have riots and all kinds of craziness, all on this business of ambition. Then the third aspect of ambition and taking on the ego is the belief now that not only am I what I have and what I do, but I also become what other people think of me. So my reputation becomes something really, really important. In young people, we call this peer pressure. We call this the time in a young person's life when what other people think of them is really very important. So we go around and we're taught, you know, as young people, that it's important to get along, it's important to fit in, it's important that other people like you, it's important for you to realize that if you're not liked by your friends, you're not going to be very happy. You're not going to get the things that you want for yourself in your life. And so now we've taken this little beautiful creature who just showed up from a microscopic dot, and everything was handled for it. And it was doing nothing. It was just being done. And we've imposed three really harsh kinds of requirements on this person. Forget all of this. Forget this little bundle of perfection, you know, that was created by God and is a piece of God, and let's set it over here and let's create a new one and make it believe that it has to accomplish, it has to accumulate, and it has to win the approval of other people. Now, what I have learned over the years is that I gave a seminar not too long ago, and someone wrote me a letter and said, the seminar did not live up to my expectations, okay? And was sort of complaining about whatever that was. And I got thinking about that, like how would, there were 1,000 people at the seminar, and how, if I have 1,000 people who come to my seminar, all with expectations, how in the world am I going to deliver a seminar? and meet everybody else's expectations out there. How is it possible to do that? You can't focus, you can't go out there in front of an audience, you can't perform, you can't do anything in that focused on whether you're going to be approved of or liked or accepted by all of the people that are out there. One of the things that you discover and you learn is that you have to become independent of the good opinion of other people. And as I've told each one of my children as they were growing up, I'm not focused on, whether people like you or don't like you. You can't be responsible for that. In fact, you should forget about your reputation. It's a meaningless construct because it doesn't exist within you. You don't have a reputation that is going to be something that you can hang on to and use wherever you go. If you give a talk to 1,000 people, you got 1,000 reputations. And maybe will they walk out and you'll ask them, what was it about it? Did you like it at all? And you get 1,000 different responses. That's the way the world is. And the greatest political landslide in American history, I think it was Mondale and Reagan. I think that's what it was. It was, they said it was just a disaster for Mondale because he lost. 45% of the people voted for Walter Mondale for president. 45%. So when you get half the people plus a few percentage points, you got a landslide. So you're looking for, landslides are half the people plus one or two, and you're doing great, But all the people, everybody that you meet, trying to please everybody out there all the time. So it would seem to me that a person who is focused on who they are, rather than on what other people's expectations are, would be someone who wouldn't at all be concerned about what other people think of them, what their reputation is, and so on. So those three things are the real guts of ambition. Now, there's other parts of that ego. The belief that we're separate from each other, the belief that we're separate from what we would like to attract into our life, the belief even that we're separate from God. These are all ego constructs. More separation. Like I'm separate from everybody out there that is watching, and I am separate from what's missing in my life, so that the things that I would really like to have are separate from me. But if you have an understanding that there's no place that this God is not, that the source is not, that's an invisible intelligence that allows everything to go from nowhere to now here in one split second, that there's no place that it's not, that this divine organizing intelligence is everywhere. And if there's no place that it's not, then it has to be in me, if there's no place that it's not. If there's no place that God is not. And if it's also, there's no place that it's not, it also has to be in everything that I perceive to be missing from my life. It has to be, in some invisible way, I'm already connected to everything that I would like to attract into my life. If there's no place that it's not, this source is not. And so, as you let go of your ego, you stop the idea of separation, and you begin to see yourself as connected to everything and everyone. And instead of believing that it's not going to show up for me, you change your thought system around to it's on its way. This is something that I'm attracting into my life. And the ultimate, I think the most egregious error that the ego makes is it starts to believe that I am separate from God. That God is something that is outside of me and is a withholding God, has the ability to heal me of my illnesses and to provide me with the abundance that's missing in my life and to bring the right person into my life, has the ability to do that, but's holding back on that, so that if you pay in a certain amount of money, if you do the right things, I'll talk to my representatives, and we'll decide whether you get that or not. So when you get, what I've just talked about here now is something called, the ambition phase of your life, in which your goal is always to try to get more, to get someplace else, to be better than somebody else, and to be consumed with being liked and approved of wherever you go. That's the ambition phase.